Hey, hey, hey. Time for another out of this world story from rSpace. Found out my wife is cheating, confronted her. No, she says, it was just sexting and online. But I found that my wife is cheating with a high school friend she reconnected with a couple weeks ago. I have the full log of text messages between them in all its sordid details. In these messages, it appears clear that they hooked up at least 3 times. Not only that, but she is bragging about having sex with this guy to 2 of her friends. I confronted her, and she breaks down crying and starts telling me that it was just an online-only fantasy. She tells me that I drove her to this because I didn't give her enough attention and that she was desperate. It's true, we haven't had sex very frequently lately because I have a relatively low libido to begin with. I am full of resentment at the fact that I do 90% of the housework and childcare, and the fact that I haven't slept in the bed for a couple of years because she likes to co-sleep with the kids. I guess I am culpable. Apparently I made her do this. She also says she's stuck with me through all the things I have done in the past. I was not very good with money for a while and overspent forcing her to borrow money from her dad. I had a brief period where I questioned my sexuality, bisexual, and I have been a frequent user of porn. Are these things equivalently odious? Should I allow myself to be guilted into staying in this marriage like this? Anyway, through all this, I have no photos of them together, so I guess I can't definitively prove anything. Yet the texts appear to be clear what happened despite her insistence that they are just fantasies. I start to relent and give her what she wants. I suggest maybe we need to see someone to help sort through these problems. We did counseling in the past, but I'm not a very emotionally open guy and had a hard time talking. But she also resisted the counselor whenever he pushed back against her. She wanted him to fix me and didn't take kindly to being told that she might have a role to play in our difficulties too. So, after we conclude this discussion, with her steamrolling me and offering to let me text her affair partner and friend for more info, I come to find out later from her text messages that she was texting both her affair partner and one of her friends to see if they would cover for her and tell me it was fantasy only. I printed every text message she sent him. Why would she use text to contact someone to arrange cover? Good grief. I haven't confronted her yet about this, but it sure doesn't bode well for any reconciliation. We tried to have some make-up sex after, but before I read her attempts at covering things up. But I had a hard time maintaining an erection and couldn't finish because I kept thinking about the things said in the messages. I don't know about reconciliation. I was all set to leave her, and then the crocodile tears got me. But this new revelation of cover stories opens it all up again. I don't know what to do anymore. She makes more than I do. We have a house, kids, etc. And being a very involved parent, I need to have my kids at least 50-50. I'm afraid that my low-paying job will hinder that as a possibility. Any advice? Thanks for reading. Update. Last hope of reconciliation shattered. So I had a sneaking suspicion that my wayward spouse would use this, her last opportunity to stray before going back into work from home previously, full-time next week, plus the fact that the affair partner usually has Friday off to have another meet-up with her affair partner. And screw me sideways, but I was right. Despite her protestations that she wants to reconcile, she has continued contact with her affair partner and contacted him to meet today at lunch. He shut her down and said it would be a bad idea. Now she is upset that she is being rejected by 2 men. I just can't even believe what's going on here. But before any of you proceeded calling me a doormat, my resolve was firm yesterday, but only strengthened today. I meet with lawyers next week. Not sure whether to even bother confronting her with this. I just have no hope left. Remember, for those considering reconciliation, trust but verify. Update. So goddamn angry right now. My wife went to see her doctor today. When I got home, she told me she told the doctor her story. She told me that the doctor agrees with her, that she had no choice but to do what she did, and that she shouldn't take any blame for her actions. She also told her doc that I have been talking to my dad about this affair. Her doctor, apparently, thinks that I was wrong to do so. But what the F? This is my freaking dad. I have one friend in this town, and he is supportive generally, but not terribly profound. Who the heck else am I supposed to talk to? I can't turn around here without bumping into someone that doesn't know all of my dirty laundry, since my wife has always been fond of offloading all of her relationship problems in her friends, and she knows this bothers me. We had this argument a few years ago where she was talking to friends, including a mutual friend, about her problems with me. It got to the point where I was embarrassed to be around my friends since they seemed to know everything going on, from my wife's point of view, of course. And the minimizing of my feelings continues. She says, "Oh, don't be angry, just calm down, just get over it." God dang it. I'm so freaking angry right now, I'm shaking. This is a whole new level of manipulation. Livid. Update. soon-to-be ex-wife passed the polygraph. What to do now? She passed the polygraph today. She passed the phone to me triumphantly and mad at me at the same time since I never believed her. I talked to the examiner and he says she passed with flying colors. I told her I still smelled BS. She came home and has locked herself in the bedroom, texting frantically, asking her friends, "What do I do now?" I frankly still don't believe it. There are still far too many inconsistencies in the story and text to believe it, but this definitely doesn't help me any. Update: polygraphs and their value in determining cheating. Has anyone else out there used polygraph to cut through the lies of a wayward spouse? Mine has denied cheating, despite all the evidence, including her and her affair partner's own words, because there still remains a slight shred of plausible deniability owing to the fact that I don't have any photographic evidence of sex having occurred. Frankly, I think she is full of crap. However, she offered to get a polygraph to prove her innocence and to validate her claim that this was all a made-up fantasy world that her and her affair partner carried on via text. I said, fine, sure, whatever you want. Frankly, I think polygraph is a little more than a circus trick, and I get a really weird reality TV vibe from the people offering the service. She went and did the first polygraph with an inconclusive result. With an inconclusive result, this company offers a free retest. I found out that she took a couple of lorazepam tablets before the test that she got from a helpful coworker, read co-conspirator, in an attempt to game the test. She had initially wanted to game the test by writing questions that would be largely irrelevant, such as, were other people present, to getting to the issue at hand. So she goes for a retest in a couple of days, and I find out that she has been given more lorazepam by her coworker. I found them in her purse and switched the pills with some vitamin pills of a smaller size. I guess we will see what happens. And the blame game continues. Still no remorse. She blames me for everything and even told me today that she's glad that I feel this way. Maybe now you'll know what it feels like. Indeed. Every word that comes out of her mouth strengthens my resolve to be done with this once and for all. I have scheduled some individual counseling for myself next week and now have a lawyer working for me. Regardless of the outcome of the test, I am done. Update to wife caught in the affair but claims it was online only. I've had a few people ask for an update, so I thought I would post one here despite the fact you will probably all rake me over the coals for being unassertive, etc. Anyway, my soon-to-be ex-wife continues to deny any physical involvement with the affair partner. She is doubling down on her story. The day we got the polygraph and I called BS, she decided to take the kids for a couple hours and texted me, calling me a freaking moron, and told me, "I took the kids so you can see what it is like to be without your family." Thanks. Real nice. Already weaponizing the children. Keep in mind, too, that throughout all of this, I have yet to swear at her, yell at her, call her names. She has now done all three. And to top it off, I gray rocked her for a week, and so I slept in the basement. In response to this, she started to say that I was treating her horribly. I mean, really? I was giving her the cold shoulder and not giving her any attention, and yet she continues to blame me for everything, lies to me, turns me into the butt of all the jokes at her workplace, and I'm the one treating her horribly? Indeed. She was still in constant contact with the affair partner until last Friday. Even in the text to inform him she would not be contacting him, she qualified it by saying, "For a while." No, this is not for a while, this is permanent. She just does not get it. Her claim all along is that this was strictly online and that because online, not a relationship. Really? Not a relationship? She has a personal history with this guy. She met up with him 3 times, but because most of it was via text, there's no relationship. She even goes on Facebook on Friday and posts something to the effect that, "You don't realize how important someone is until you can't talk to them anymore." Somehow, I don't think she is talking about me. I found out today that she is telling her friends she misses him so bad. Funny that she would say that if it was not a relationship. Her coworkers are also looking for other ways to get her in contact with him, via email or some other means. Definitely not over. Last week, I also got an admission from her, via a coworker, that she was indeed lying on the polygraph. She said, "Well, actually, I was lying. I'm pretty good. I could be a criminal. I should rob a bank. I would pass the test." She also admitted to taking so much of her coworker's lorazepam that she doesn't even remember the drive back to work that day. I also heard that she has been saying that the affair partner wants to do it again. She wants to do it again. She seems to have an obsession with his truck and so badly wants to go for a ride in it. They never got a chance before I broke up the fun, but clearly it is still on her mind. But apparently he is such a sweet guy that he wants us to fix up our marriage first. She wrote me a sob story of a letter in which she once again pinned all the blame on me, and even said that I would really like the affair partner. He's a really cool guy. Indeed. I would like to see him spit his teeth out on the floor. I stopped reading. I left my ring on the bathroom counter last week and she came home and found it. She came and badgered me for an hour while I was cooking supper, and eventually I relented and put it back on. She came home Friday in tears after I texted her about how this was affecting me. She is, I think, maybe starting to realize the crap she has caused and finally acknowledge my feelings. I softened, again, but I also haven't really changed my mind. I just want the argument to end, and I just am not assertive enough to say enough is enough. Just F off. So I went for a 3-hour walk and have started to let her back in a little. I also agreed to marriage counseling this week. I don't want to go. Since I started to let her in a little, she has once again started to invalidate my feelings and trying to get me to agree with her that what she did does not constitute a relationship, etc. If I would just do that, I would feel less stressed. It's just that simple. I had a really good session with the therapist last week who works in the same office where we are taking our marriage counseling. She was very affirming and thinks that I should trust my gut on this one. She stopped short of advocating for divorce, saying that it's my choice, but also said that I deserve better. Pretty sure I understand her subtext. Marriage counseling will be with a different therapist, but in the same office. So this gives me some hope that they might be more or less on the same page and will push back against my soon-to-be ex-wife a little. I know her primary agenda is to push for an open marriage. I guess through marriage counseling, I hope to present the whole story of what happened and hope to reiterate my desire for divorce. Perhaps having someone else there will help to embolden me and bolster my position. I don't know though. Taking a bit of risk here. I think, given the fact I know most of you seem to disagree with marriage counseling, and in under the circumstances. I do have a lawyer on retainer. Unfortunately, it is a slow process so far. He has advised starting with a mutually agreed separation agreement, as it tends to be a less conflictual and litigious process over straight-up filing. I know this will disappoint some of you, and me, frankly, that there may be a dramatic serving of papers in the workplace, but I, as a relatively low-income earner and with 3 kids, am inclined to agree with his advice, at least for now, and depending on what her response is, and the type of lawyer she decides to select, I am in the process of gathering the necessary documents for him to get started on this. In the meantime, I'm a little less of a wreck than I was a week ago. Some of the initial shock and anxiety is wearing off. It is, however, coming back since I stopped with the Grey Rock bit this week. Every time I get near her, I start getting anxious and just disgusted. I can't stand to be around her, so I've been taking a lot of walks in the evenings and glad to be back to work after the weekend. Having trouble sleeping next to her too, especially since she started to bug me for sex already. Nope. Sorry, not doing that. Having some real trouble with self-worth and suicidal ideation that is really scaring me too. I couldn't do that to my kids, but at the same time, my front tires are bald and I keep hoping for a blowout followed by a fiery crash on the highway to work. I'm freaking miserable, and she's continuing on more or less like nothing ever happened. Disgusting. That's it for now, I suppose. Perhaps I will have another update after marriage counseling this week. I'm sure that will be a crap show. Thanks for reading, and your past support. By all means, call me what you will. I need it. Edit. I thought I would add a few words since the thread got locked before I got a chance to respond to any comments. I want to say thank you. I expected, indeed even hoped, for some harsh words, and I was not disappointed. I will use these to steel myself for tomorrow night's crap show. As to the kids, I know all of this and fully agree that coming from a broken home is to be preferred to living in one. Thankfully, so far there has not been any big blowouts inside the home or in front of the kids. The younger 2 are completely oblivious, 8 and 5, although I am sure they can pick up on my mood to some extent. My oldest knows something is going on. In fact, when the kids were out with my soon-to-be ex-wife, when she scooped them last week and told me she wanted to see what it would be like without my family, he asked her if we were going to divorce. She said no. She does not, of course, want divorce. Clearly, she doesn't care about her reputation among her coworkers, as they all know, but her family is quite another story. Update. Porn versus infidelity. Are they equivalent? Last night we had marriage counseling. During this session, my soon-to-be ex-wife put forth her reasons for doing what she did. She claims that 2 weeks of sexting, although I continue to maintain that there was physical sex as well, does not constitute cheating. The counselor was surprised by this opinion and pushed back against her. My soon-to-be ex-wife brought up my use of porn. My wife has expressed in the past that she doesn't like it and calls me addicted. However, I have talked in the past to a counselor about these issues who refused to call me addicted, as my typical porn use sees me 2 to 3 times a week masturbating for 3 to 5 minutes, getting off, and then going about something else. To his mind, porn addiction is where someone compulsively uses porn for several hours a day, and as a result, has a hard time functioning in other areas of life. He said that my porn use was nothing out of the ordinary. However, in marriage counseling, this counselor suggests that porn can be seen as infidelity. So my wife is now using this to say See, we have both been unfaithful, and we should just put it all behind us and move on. She is very impatient to see me just get over it. I have never hidden or lied to my wife about porn, and at various times in our relationship, she has used it and even brought it into the bedroom. It has never before been seen as infidelity, until now, of course, as she is now able to weaponize it. I just don't get what she is about here. I told her that I have information that she lied on the polygraph to her coworkers. I told her there is a mole in the office feeding me information. Last night, she was pissed at the revelation, and this morning, she told me that this mole emailed her and demanded to see my phone. I refused. Now, though, she is sending me all these sweet text messages saying I love you and twisting what she said to her coworker about the test, and is all lovey-dovey. I just don't get it. I have also found out that she is once again texting the affair partner, this time via a coworker's phone. Is porn equivalent to sexting with another man over the course of a month, even if it was just sexting? Or am I just crazy? Is this just another manipulative tactic? Update. I'm officially second best. Plan B. I came across a notebook that my soon-to-be ex-wife has been writing in that contained my name and her affair partner's name. It is a side-by-side comparison between me and the affair partner. Naturally, he has more qualities than I do. She lists 12 things to my 6 or so. I'm better looking, so there's that at least. I cook, I clean, I do whatever she wants, and I'm a good father. He has a manly job, a wage, a manly truck, awesome sex, passionate, intense, etc. Sounds great, doesn't it? Perhaps I was once these things too, but after 16 years of marriage, I guess you get complacent. This speaks like the honeymoon phase of a new relationship. I'm just a librarian, former soldier, but whatever. Male librarian is, nonetheless, a rare breed, and I gather to her and her friends this means I'm gay, or something less than. Alongside that is some happy teenage girl love poetry that she has written about him, about how he makes her alive, fills the void, but won't let anyone in. She seems desperate to want him to enter into a relationship, but he is content with just sex and seems utterly uninterested in anything else. Still, what does that make me? Officially second best. Plan B. The fallback guy? Feels like a stab into the heart. I have a feeling, well more than a feeling, that were he interested in a relationship, she would be long gone already. But he's not, so she wants to work on us. There is no us left. On top of this, she has me second-guessing my interactions with the kids. She is jealous of them and the attention they get from me, in particular my daughter. But they are young, 11, 8, and 5. It's not like I always lavish attention on them. They take the attention they want. They demand it. They're kids. Just a rant, I guess. Update to caught wife cheating, but she claims online sexting only. I guess I should update on my story to date. Afraid it is probably not what most would like to hear. Up to last Friday, I had my mind set on divorce. Things came to a head that night after we had both had individual sessions with our marriage counselor. I had stated in the meeting that I was done with the marriage and wanted out. The marriage counselor accepted this, but was not very affirming or validating, really. The only thing I got out of it was her belief that an open marriage was impossible under the circumstances, as I had told her that I believed that my wife was going to use marriage counseling as a way to push for one. She has stated this to her affair partner, and that for any reconciliation to occur, the affair partner would have to be out of the picture. Also, since her coworkers and friends have been enabling my wife's activities, their friendship would probably need to be reconsidered, as they could not be considered friends to the marriage. My wife had her session 2 days later. She started by bringing the marriage counselor a bouquet of flowers. Seems like a bit of a manipulative trick to me, but I guess she did make space in her schedule for us. Whatever. My wife gets home 2 hours later. I had gotten only 1 hour, and says her session went very well. Apparently, the marriage counselor said that my wife was fairly justified in having the affair, and that she should maintain contact with the affair partner. I told her to go away and slept in the basement. The following morning, she comes down and gives me the tears and runs the guilt trip about giving up on the marriage. God dang it, but I folded and committed to working with her on it. Keep in mind, nothing has changed as far as her story or stance on anything that has happened here. Nothing. She continues to say that we both committed infidelity, and that it was me who drove her to it, etc. Saturday and Sunday were good. Until Sunday evening, she comes to me and says she wants to see the affair partner on Wednesday at the bar for a drink because she has some questions for him. I say no, not happy about that. She tells me the marriage counselor told her she could stay in contact with him as he is a good support. Right. So, thinking, well, if she's going to persist, may as well give her the rope she needs to hang herself with. I think that part of her reluctance to divorce right now also stems from the fact that she is the high-income earner. I have seen messages from her coworkers sending her job postings for me and saying things like, "These could be very useful to us." When I asked my wife what that meant, she said they meant of us, as in her and I. Yet the messages make clear that us refers to her and her coworkers. I think she may just be looking to get me into a higher paying job so that she would not be on the hook for child support, etc. AP is not vaxxed, so cannot go to the bars. I catch their text conversation, and the thing that stands out to me is she tells him she needs to talk to him about procedures, not feelings. What procedures exactly? She has stated in the past that both her and the affair partner want to do it all over again. So right away, I start thinking that D-Day number 2 is right around the corner. But because he is not vaxxed, their meeting doesn't go ahead. However, on Thursday, she is late coming home from work. I check the location of her phone, and she has stopped at his house. She tells me she is late because someone had a big announcement at work. Affair partner was not home, but she dropped a letter off at his house. I haven't been able to find out the contents of the letter, but it seems to be of some importance because she keeps talking about it with her friends, and she tells the affair partner that the ball is now in your court. Frankly, I think this letter is her last-ditch attempt to get him to open up to a more serious relationship with her. He has yet to respond, and her mood shows how she feels about this. She is also texting her friends and asking things like, "Does this mean it's all over?" etc. Clearly, there is more to her feelings for her affair partner than she lets on. Remember, she has previously written sappy love poetry about him, but insists that they are just words on a page and mean nothing. But there are more clues to her feelings. She texted him this week to have him send pictures of him in his sexy coveralls. Now all of a sudden, she wants me to wear coveralls during sex. Also, her musical tastes have changed to match his. Previously, anytime I would change the radio to hard rock or metal station, she would change it and say, "I hate the name of station." Now she is listening to it on the ride to and from work, downloading and listening to 9 Inch Nails and Five Finger Death Punch, etc. All music that I have never heard her listening to. Strange, no? The amount of mental space and energy she is devoting to this guy goes way beyond just friends. I have given this relationship sincere effort this week, doing all the things she has stated she wants to see from me. But she gave me 2 days before getting into contact with the affair partner and continuing to try and monkey branch to him. So far, he hasn't responded to her letter. She did find one of my spyware apps on her phone this weekend and removed it. But redundancy? So maybe she will get complacent thinking that her texting is now secure. Insofar as reconciliation goes, my feelings for her have definitely cooled. I guess I still love her in some way, but it just isn't what it was before. I still find myself anxious and tense around her, but I am trying. I guess. But she clearly is not putting the effort in, but is apparently a good faker. I guess about what you expect from a cheater. Right now, I guess reconciliation is being driven mostly by the kids and the fact that I hate the idea of putting them through a divorce, and also by financial considerations. I could possibly make it on my own with my relatively low wage, but the margin would be thin. Very thin. Nonetheless, this marriage almost certainly has an expiry date. At least I can tell the kids that I tried, even though my commitment to it is paper thin. I'm still working in the background on divorce, gathering documents, which is complicated by the fact that some of the documents have to come from her. The other things is that her friends are making me out to be sneaky and dangerous, as in potentially violent. As such, I'm taking steps to prevent those sorts of accusations, such as moving my firearms off-site so they cannot be used as pretext to evict me from the home or for a restraining order. That, and I need to sit down this week with a mortgage broker to see just what I could potentially qualify for. Her father is also now involved in giving her a lot of really bad, outdated advice on divorce and custody. He has planted in her mind that the idea that I would have to walk away with nothing. Both him and her agree that she would go for full custody of the kids and that I would have to walk away from the house without even so much as the equity in the house or the property. He says that he would allow me to visit the kids occasionally. Sorry, Grandpa, but that may be how it worked in 1979 when your wife divorced you for cheating on her, while pregnant nonetheless. But things have changed since. Marital property, equity in the house, and custody are now 50-50 more or less by default, unless they can prove abuse, neglect, or some other grave misdeed. My wife says that her grounds for going for full custody would be my low income, and my, by her diagnosis only, PTSD from Afghanistan. I have never sought treatment for PTSD because I have never suffered from PTSD arising from my experience in Afghanistan. Nonetheless, my wife says so I guess I must have it, right? That's how it works, isn't it? Right. Again, the potential for an accusation of violence is high here as well. Anyhow, I'm struggling with some really dark feelings of negative self-worth right now for caving to this instead of just straight up telling her to hit the bricks. I feel like a dupe, although I told her straight up that I still can't really accept her story. She says the text messages were well written, but that's the problem. They are too well written. And I have caught her in so many lies that I can't accept her explanation at face value. But I have allowed myself to give her the benefit of the doubt. She certainly has done a masterful job of planting those seeds of doubt, and I hate her for it. I guess that's it for now. Any advice on how to deal with this would be appreciated. I feel like I've painted myself into a corner here, probably because I have. Screw my life. Initially posted a Surviving Infidelity sub, but this post is not being approved, so I'm posting here as well. Everything is theater. The affair partner responded to her letter and broke it off with her, saying that he has been far too involved in the situation already and that it makes him very uncomfortable. He even showed surprising empathy, saying that she should stop waving me in his face. I know how I would feel if this were happening to me, and that's why I'm out. After that, I saw other messages to her friends saying that her white knight is not coming to save her. Ha! Last night, she told me he had told her that he was done with her, and that I should be happy about that. Sure, whatever. I told her I knew about the letter, and her messages. She insists that I am the white knight she was referring to, and that the letter contained only questions she had about divorce processes since he is divorced and she wanted to know how he went about it. However, it's clear there was far more to the letter than she lets on, considering her messages to her friends and his message breaking it off. I asked for a copy of the letter. She promised to give it to me. Today she texts me that she has the letter and can either email it or print it and bring it home. I told her I want the electronic copy of the letter. When I get the letter, I open it and check the file's properties and version history. Sure as crap, she wrote the dang thing this morning, as I expected, and it contains only the information that she admitted to yesterday. Surprise! I wonder how she thought she would get away with such an obvious trick. Everything is theater. Update. Wife can't give me credit for anything. My wife will not give me any credit for anything when speaking to her friends. A couple weeks ago, her father went into the hospital suddenly and without anyone's knowledge. She went to his place to visit, but found the place in disarray, very much unlike him. He had just the day before gotten news of a good friend's death, and so she was worried about him. She called me to talk about it while I was out taking our son to one of his activities. Without being prompted, I started to call some of the local hospitals. Turns out the third one I called had admitted him earlier that day, and he was just then getting out of an emergency surgery. I called and let my wife know. That following day, she tells her friends. Now mind you, these are the same friends who encouraged and enabled her affair. She tells them that she was the one to call the hospital and leaves me out of the story entirely. That's one example. We just got a major snowfall that left her unable to get out of the driveway. She got stuck halfway down. She called me out of bed and had me push her back into the garage. I then spent the following 45 minutes clearing the driveway. In telling her friends, once again, she leaves me out of the story, telling her friends that she managed to get the car back into the garage on her own and that it took 3 men 2 hours to clear all the snow. Just who are these 3 men? This aggravates me to no end and seems like a way for her to continue to make me look like the bad guy before all her friends in order to rationalize her actions. Do I count for nothing? On top of this, she is bugging me about changing her snow tires and the oil in her car. I don't want to really, so I have stalled on this. Really, the oil change should have been months ago. Last time I worked on her car, I spent the afternoon changing her back brakes and rotors. And then 10 minutes after I finish, she takes the car and drives herself to the affair partner to dinner and then back to his place for sex. She told me she was taking a good female friend of hers to dinner. Her car is a trigger for me and really feel disinclined to do any work on it given what she did with the affair partner and her unwillingness to credit me for anything. Needless to say, these things, her continuing to blame shift and her total unwillingness to be transparent with her phone do not bode well for reconciliation. My heart just isn't in it anymore, and I grow more miserable by the day. Update. How much information about individual counseling do you share with your wayward spouse? My wife has shown a lot of anxiety around me being in therapy. On the eve of my sessions, she quizzes me about what I'm going to say and tries to tell me what I need to talk about in my session. After my session, she grills me about them. Questions like, what did you talk about? Did you talk about me? Etc. And often gets upset when I hold back. Am I wrong to hold back? This is not necessarily a new thing. It has happened before when I have seen a counselor for various matters. It tends to make me uncomfortable because, well, we sure do talk about her. And not always in a flattering way, and so I try to avoid having to talk to her about these sessions. Part of me thinks that these sessions are private and ought to be kept private, but I also don't necessarily want to hold back either and feel like I'm keeping secrets. How much do you share with your wayward spouse about what you discuss in your own individual therapy sessions? Should you keep these discussions between you and your therapist? Is it any of your partner's business what you discussed? Update. Can anyone tell me what in the holy hell this is? My wife sent this to me tonight and I am at a complete loss for words. I have no idea how to respond to this or even if I should waste my breath. Ordinarily, I would show my counselor, but I don't see her for another month now. Can anyone shed any light on what the hell is going on here? Consider that she has not yet apologized for anything. In her last marriage counseling session, the counselor asked if she had any remorse and she said no. I just don't know what to do anymore. I'm desperate. I have been thinking about how to say this to your face, but I can't, so I'll say it here. I am mad. I am disappointed and angry at you for the way you treated me. You became the horrible emotional abuser I never thought was possible from you. I wasn't the one who screwed another man, was your favorite response to what I said, even though I gave you more than ample evidence I didn't. Even law enforcement and courts would have believed me for the proof I provided you. I'm extremely livid at the fact that you so easily kept telling me that I screwed him. Maybe I should have, since no matter what you won't change your mind. I want an apology from you, an apology for the words you said to me, for constantly accusing me of doing something I didn't do, after continuing to lie to me about what you do. I will admit to the sexting, just as you admit to the porn, but I cannot get over this anger towards you over the words you said to me about having sex with him. I cannot move forward or pretend that this is getting better until I get an apology from you. Update. No doubt you'll be surprised to hear that reconciliation did not work. Surprise! Reconciliation did not work and I'm finally vindicated in my assertion that my wife has been lying to me and everyone else this whole time. Please feel free to say, I told you so. My daughter's birthday was on the weekend, and so my wife posted an announcement on Facebook. Her affair partner commented on the post. This prompted 2 days worth of texting between him and my wife. She did inform me that he texted, but would only give a vague description of the content of their messaging and said that it was only 1 or 2 messages. She would tell me he is asking how old our daughter is, etc. However, she is once again carrying her phone around the house with her now for 2 days and answering incoming texts instantly, just as she was back in the summer during her affair. She still has not given me her phone, but she doesn't know that I was able to guess her PIN number. She is very predictable in her choices of passcodes. Things started to get flirty, and they started to reference what had gone on between them before. Nothing too clear in terms of a smoking gun. During the conversation, he indicated that he was at home Monday and Tuesday due to the weather being very poor here and him working outside. On Monday night, she decides to dye her hair after the kids went to bed. I thought this was strange, since she had just done it before Christmas, and it really wasn't that bad. In addition, she's back to working from home, so who is there to impress? She was in the bathroom for well over an hour late night, doing this and other grooming. I went to bed at 11:30 p.m. and asked if I could come in to wash up before bed. She said no and passed my toothbrush out through a crack in the door. I asked her what she is doing in there so long, and she coyly says, I'm getting ready for you. Right, sure. Affair partner has tomorrow off, and so I immediately put that together with her spending an hour or more in the bathroom grooming. So Tuesday, before I leave for work, I reset the trip odometer in her car so that I could easily determine whether she went anywhere during the day. She's in her usual sweats in front of the computer as I leave. During the day, she texts me and says that she is taking a nap at lunchtime. I come home from work and find that she has changed during the day into a low-cut shirt and put on a bunch of makeup. I ask her what's with the boob shirt, and she deflects the question. I thought maybe she might have changed to take our son to his activity tonight since she hangs out at a nearby bar while he is engaged. But instead, after supper, she goes and puts on a different long-sleeve sweatshirt. So why the boob shirt during the day? I look at the car, and sure enough, there are 5.5 kilometers on the trip counter. In asking about her day, she hasn't mentioned going anywhere. I thought maybe they went for lunch since a certain restaurant is 2.5 kilometers away, plus an extra 0.5 kilometer to pick up the affair partner. Yes, he lives that close to us, 7-minute walk. Turns out, I was slightly wrong. Instead of lunch, she went and picked up tea and went to his house, watched TV, and had sex. At last, vindication. Frankly, I don't even feel that hurt. I had such low hopes anyway based on her lack of remorse, blame shifting, and lying. I feel a sense of relief that I am not, in fact, crazy. I give it my best effort, and then she goes and does this. It is over. Well and truly over. She had asked me this weekend, what do I need to do in order for you not to divorce me? That's easy. I said don't invite other men into our relationship. 2 days later, and here we are. I don't even think it is worth confronting her at this point. I don't want to tell her how I know all this. I'm going to hang tight for a couple of days, and then on Friday after work, I will go to a friend's house and stay there until at least Monday. I will text her my intentions Friday afternoon. I don't want to even give her a chance to drip her poison into my ear. I'll probably block her so she can't even reach me at all. I'm thinking also to inform her mother, father, and sister. So far, her sister and father know about the situation, but only from her side, where she says it was all just online, a fantasy and nothing more. I would like to say something to the effect of, I'm sorry to inform you, but Name has been lying to me and to you all along. She met Name on Tuesday and had sex with him despite our attempts to reconcile. I will be initiating divorce. Thank you for welcoming me into your family and for your many past kindnesses. Please support her and the kids throughout whatever follows. Have a nice life. So far, no one has heard a peep from me about this situation, and so I would like to challenge her control of the narrative a little bit, especially with those who are closest to us. At least I can say I tried. I was sincerely trying, despite my lack of optimism, and even she said to me and to some of her friends that things were getting better. And then she goes and does it all over again. Whatever responsibility I felt for my wife's affair previously, I can no longer feel since I committed myself to reconciliation, and she clearly did not. This time, it is most definitely on her. And I am done. There will be no further efforts on her behalf by me. She has amply demonstrated that she is simply not worth it. Our first response comes from Hasterlanus. Let her find out you know when she gets served. If you tell her you know, she might get spooked and talk to a lawyer. You want to get your ducks in a row before you pull the trigger on this, so you can come out as best you can. Cursalis chimes in, exactly this. You can't operate like she's going to be decent at any point in the divorce, because she hasn't been every step of the way to exactly where you are. Plan, prepare, blindside. You don't have to be cruel, but she's going to rob you blind if you think she's going to play nice. Also, if you do tell her family, make sure you express her almost impulsive need to self-sabotage is something they need to look out for, because it's not your problem anymore. The OP replies, I don't think she will play nice at all. Her dad, who is supporting her in whatever she plans to do, has some really outdated ideas about divorce, and I am certain he will be a problem. He has already stated that if I decide to split, I have to leave the house. No. And that she gets the kids. No. And that I will pay her and her legal fees. Again, no. But he got divorced in 1979, 42 years ago. Her friends have also started making insinuations about me being potentially violent. I have never been violent in my life, and yet I own firearms, etc. And so they are starting to talk about this because they think I am, on the basis of my wife's reports, unstable because I won't believe her story. Anyway, I'm taking steps to forestall some of those things. The firearms, etc. have all been removed from the house and put into storage with a friend. The next response is from Anonymous. In my experience, the best time for her to find out that you know is the moment the papers for the divorce are served to her. Next thought from Badgerbrush20. You need to speak to a lawyer. You need to listen to them. Only listen to the lawyer. STD test. If she asks what she can do once you serve her, you have her bring her family over and explain to them what she did and what she plans to do. She explains to the kids what she did. Then you still leave her. No one will fault you. You can still go to therapy with her on how you separate your marriage and have a good co-parent agreement. And our final comment comes from Belf17. Don't leave the house. It could be considered abandonment and it's bad for custody battle. Talk to a lawyer as soon as possible and blindside her with the paper and blast her to everyone. Collect all the evidence if you can, if you're in an at-fault state, and mark everything at the time and date somewhere. Surprise her with a frickin' bomb on her life.